The Irish and Celtic Music Podcast, show number 727. Welcome to the Irish and Celtic Music Podcast, helping you celebrate Celtic culture through music. I'm a Celtic musician and also host of Folk Songs and Stories, or as it's called now, Quest and Chorus, which is a podcast fusing my love of travel, Celtic music, and gaming all in one podcast. This podcast is for fans of Celtic music. We are here to build a diverse Celtic community and help the incredible artists who so generously share their music with you. If you hear music you love, this is important. If you hear music you love, please email the artists, let them know you heard them on the Irish and Celtic Music Podcast, that this show is helping them to get their music heard. Musicians depend on your generosity to release new music, so please find a way to support them. Buy a CD, shirt, digital download, album pen, or join their community on Patreon. You can find a link to all the artists in this show, along with showtimes, when you visit our website at CelticMusicPodcast.com. And if you want to send an email to follow at bestcelticmusic.net, you can learn how to subscribe to the podcast and get a free music-only episode. Or if you're a band, you'll get a Celtic Musician's Guide to Digital Music. Again, it is free. The Irish Fest Atlanta is coming up November 7th through 9th, so make sure you get some tickets to go see Open the Door for 3 or Téada. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Téada last week. But you'll also enjoy music from Kathleen Donahue, O'Brien's Bards, Olivia Bradley, Roundabouts, The Kinnegans, The Muckers, Irish Brothers, Celtic Stew, Station 123, and yours truly, Mark Gunn, along with my daughter, Inara. There are lots of music and dance workshops, Irish cooking competitions, Irish tea, Irish film, and lots, of course, of Irish dancing. Celebrate Irish heritage at Irish Fest Atlanta in November. Bring a friend. Learn more at irishfestatlanta.com. I have a great show for you today. We kicked it off with Jigjam. That was Greenhill's Gold from their album Phoenix. Next up is Téada with Reels from their album In Spite of the Storm.
can call my own in America. I'll live and die free where I can just be in America. From the tops of the Rockies into Boston Bay, from way down in Dixie to California, where the sky when I am home. I can work for my pay and make my own way in America. I can travel this land or take my own stand in America. From the Great Blue Ridge Mountains to the Oklahoma skies, I love Virginia, pretty Georgia, and sweet Caroline, where the skies are as big as my heart when I am home. I can call my own in America. I'll live and die free where I can just be in America. From the tops of the Rockies into Boston Bay, from way down in Dixie to California, where the skies are as big as my heart when I am home.
'Twas in April 1916, in dear old Dublin in St. Stephen's Green, a rebel band marched out to end an empire, to smash the cruel bonds of slavery. Markovich and Malin led the troops in. The citizens' army will free us from the crown. They found the park already occupied by those feathered fools, the ducks of Dublin town. They haven't a care for the horrors of war, didn't give a damn about the bullets overhead, or the guns or the drums or the cannons that roar, as long as they get the daily bread. James Kearney was a fearless park keeper, armed only with a brown bag of birdseed. The rebel countess called for a ceasefire every day so the ducks might get their feed. James's love for the lachin wasn't lacking. He'd feed those fowl no matter the cost, and as long as he heard his ducks a-quacking, he knew that the battle wasn't lost. They haven't a care for the horrors of war, didn't give a damn about the bullets overhead, or the guns or the drums or the cannons that roar, as long as they get the daily bread. They haven't a care for the horrors of war, didn't give a damn about the bullets overhead, or the guns or the drums or the cannons that roar, as long as they get their daily bread, or the guns or the drums or the cannons that roar, long as they get the daily bread.
After Téada came Jeff Blaney with When I Am Home in America from his album Exodus. Then Norse Gael with Creadeamh She from Finscéal. And we finished up the set with Bealtaine, that was the Ducks of Dublin Town from Factories and Mills, Shipyards and Mines. I want your feedback. What are you doing today while listening to the podcast? You can send a picture of what you're doing while listening, or let me know if there is a new Celtic CD or band that you heard or saw. You can send a picture, in fact. Or if you have a picture from your travels to Ireland or Scotland, send it to me. Email follow@bestcelticmusic.net. Jeff Laszlo emailed, spreading your podcast to Greenville. Hi, Mark. Listened to this week's podcast as Mary and I drove to Greenville for the Scottish Games and Galbraith. Several people at the parade asked about the selfie, and I told them about you and your podcast. Hope to see you soon. Thanks so much, Jeff. I really appreciate everyone who spreads the word about the podcast. Obviously, you can get a shirt in my store at magerecords.com, which is a great way. But if you are traveling somewhere and you want to send some, bring some stickers to give out to people, or some flyers, I would be happy to send those to you. Drop me an email. Again, follow@bestcelticmusic.net. Say, I want to promote the podcast. Woodland Folk emailed some photos. We are seasonal. This is the time of year for learning. Rekindled friendships. The air is heavy. My bow hair loose, like a barometer. I leave hazel leaves in the case, but I feel to absorb some of the damp air as added humidity. Yesterday I played with my Harper friend. She sat on Union Street. Beautiful. Dave the Bard, Bridget, Oaken, Ash and Thorn, an adapted and well-played folk song here. Song of the Sea, a stunning theme from a wild Irish mythical themed cartoon. This morning, I will play early to finish before the sun gets too warm. I will play your wildly creative podcast under a cool rustling canopy, my friend. You can check out those pictures from Woodland Folk in the show notes. Thank you so much. Again, this is for show number 727. Patrick Reiger emailed a photo. Hi, Mark. The family and I were joined with some friends July 19th at Harp and Fiddle and enjoy the show of me and Bobby Magoo. Mark Geiser and Bob Banerjee have been around the Pittsburgh Irish music scene for a long time, but it's only in the past 2 years or two they joined up. Mark is me and Bob is Bobby Magoo. Their set was all Irish. In this photo, they were playing Old Dun Cow, and the audience did the callback of McIntyre very well. We have found musicians are not playing much Irish music in the pubs these days, but these two made sure we had plenty of Irish, and the audience loved it. Thank you so much, Patrick, and thanks for keeping the music alive in the Pittsburgh Irish music scene. I really appreciate you keeping me informed of how it's going. Patrick's done a great job. He goes out regularly to pubs and venues to watch Irish music live, and he sends in pictures, and you can do the same thing in your area. Even if it's just one band, just take a picture, send it in, say, hey, this band is playing on a regular basis or whatnot. Because he's right. There's not as much Irish music played in Irish pubs these days, but there's definitely a demand for it and interest in it. So thank you, Patrick. All right, let's get back to the music. Goitse is up next with Write Me Down from their album Rosk.
Above that first created a man to love. For I have a diamond in my eye, where all my joy and fancies lie. Now I'd give her gold and I'd give her pearls, if only she'd fancy to be my girl, and all such costly robes she'd wear, if only she'd fancy to be my dear. Oh, it's not your gold would me entice to leave my friends for your advice. I never intend to marry at all,
Next one's goes from a fishing song to a song about a fishing town and a young lady that lives there that practices the world's oldest profession. She made friends with all the sailors on the way to town.
Down there lived a man, had a little tavern down by the strand. The landlord had a daughter fair, a pretty little thing with the golden hair. Hey, won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down the army town? And won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down the army town? Well, in the came a sailor man, he asked the daughter for her hand. Oh, why should I marry you, she said, I get all I want without being wed. Hey, won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down the army town? And won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down the army town? But if with me you want to linger, I'll tie a piece of string all around my finger, and as you pass by you go pull on the string. I'll come down and I'll let you in. Hey, won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down the army town? And won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down the army town? So the very next night in Yarmouth town, sailor he had come on down, and as he passed by he pulls on the string. She's come down and she's let him in. Won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down the Yarmouth town? And won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down the Yarmouth town? Got her round the very next night in Yarmouth town. There were 15 sailors a pulling on the string, and she's come down and she's let them all in. Hey, won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down the Yarmouth town? And won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down the Yarmouth town? So all young men up to Yarmouth go. If you see a pretty girl with her hair hanging low, all you gotta do is pull on the string. She'll come down and she'll let you in. Hey, won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down the Yarmouth town? And won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down the Yarmouth town? And won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down the Yarmouth town? And won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down the Yarmouth town?
Charlie Coughlin on the vocals, everybody. Yarmouth town.
shoes for their feet. We wined them and dined them, they ate all our meat, and slept in the house of MacDonald. Cruel is the snow that sweeps Glencoe and covers the grave O'Donnell. And cruel was the foe that raided Glencoe and murdered the house of MacDonald. They came from Fort William with murder in mind. The Campbell had orders King William had signed. Put all to the sword, these words underlined, and leave none alive called MacDonald. Cruel is the snow that sweeps Glencoe and covers the grave O'Donnell. And cruel was the foe that raided Glencoe and murdered the house of MacDonald.
They came in the night when the men were asleep. That land of Argyle's through snow soft and deep, like murdering foxes among helpless sheep. They slaughtered the house of MacDonald.
Cruel is the snow that sweeps Glencoe and covers the grave O'Donnell. And cruel was the foe that raided Glencoe and murdered the house of MacDonald. Some died in their beds at the hands of the foe. Some fled in the night, were lost in the snow. Some lived to accuse him, was struck the first blow. Gone was the house of MacDonald. Cruel is the snow that sweeps Glencoe and covers the grave O'Donnell. And cruel was the foe that raided Glencoe and murdered the house of MacDonald. Cruel is the snow that sweeps Glencoe and covers the grave O'Donnell. And cruel was the foe that raided Glencoe and murdered the house of MacDonald. And murdered the house of MacDonald.
After Goitse came down Possumato with Planxty Dermot Grogan, featuring Teresa Baker and Elizabeth Nicholson. It's from his album Untitled Chapter. Then came Crikwater with Yarmouth Town from Live in Buffalo. Jocelyn, Pettit, and Ellen Gira after that with Road Trip to Cape Breton from Here to Stay. And we finish up the set with Glencoe by Golden Bow from their album Westering Home. Thank you so much, patrons of the podcast. It is because of you that this podcast comes out nearly every single week. Your support doesn't just fund the show. It fuels a movement. It helps us share the magic of Celtic music with thousands of new listeners every week. And it allows us to grow a global community of Celtic music lovers. Your contributions pay for everything behind the scenes: audio engineering, stunning graphics, weekly issues of the Celtic Music magazine, show promotion, and most importantly, buying the music we feature from indie Celtic artists. If you're not yet a patron, you are missing out. Patrons get early access to episodes, music-only editions, free MP3 downloads, exclusive stories and artist interviews, and a vote in the Celtic Top 20. In fact, there was a live show by the Celtic group Tulua that was posted to Patreon for our song hingers. So there's lots of great ways to support the podcast. You can support it on a monthly basis or on a annual basis, but join us today and help keep the music alive, vibrant, and independent. This podcast does require your support in order to keep going. So special thanks to our Celtic legends, Dave and Rosie Donnelly, Rick Boyce, Bruce, Daniel Ide, Brian McReynolds, Marty Myers, Alan Schindler, Margareta Silverstone, Emma Bartholomew, Dan McDade, Jeff A., Gerald F. Boyle, Miranda Nelson, Nancy Barnett, Kevin Long, Gary R. Hook, Linda McNeil, John Sharkey White II, Kelly Garrett, Mike Schock, Annie Lorkowski, and Sean Callie. Here is your 3-step plan to support the podcast. Number 1, go to our Patreon page. Number 2, decide how much you want to pledge each and every month. $4, $12, $25. Become an underwriter for $100. Number 3, keep listening to the Irish and Celtic Music Podcast to celebrate Celtic culture through music. You can become a generous patron of the podcast on Patreon at songhinge.com. And in early October, I will be releasing a Celtic music compilation bundle that's going to be coming out. So stay tuned for that. If you're not following my mailing list at magerecords.com or on the Celtic Music Magazine, then you're missing out. So keep that in mind. If you want to travel on a Celtic Invasion vacation, we're going to Galicia next year. And then where are we going after that? I don't know. You can help me decide. Go to CelticInvasion.com. All right, back to the music. My band, the Brobdingnagian Bards, have a brand new album out. It is called Another Fair to Remember. This is sort of a follow-up, a sequel to our really popular album, A Fair to Remember, that came out back in 2001. The album features a mix of songs that are popular at Renaissance festivals, including some traditional Irish songs, but it also has a little bit more original music. The song Mother's Blood was inspired by an episode of The Witcher, but it is a tribute to the mothers and the women out there who often have to fight to be heard. So here is Mother's Blood by Brobdingnagian Bards from our album Another Fair to Remember.
Walks alone through the snow, enduring the pain that would kill me. She sits on a throne, blood stains on the stones. Every battle she wins must seem like free. She's stuck on a path, she's going to crash into a world that won't let her be. It's no surprise, wipes the tears from her eyes. Whatever transpires, don't let them see. Tradition is chains that run through her veins. It's the crown she wears, her family tree. She's stuck on a path, she's going to crash into a world that won't let her be. She pays the price, 'cause she is beloved, oh, for the sacrifice of the mother's blood. Raise more than a pint to those who are judged, oh, for the sacrifice of the mother's blood. Seems an endless tale told by men who fail, try to outrun their destiny. She has primal power, should knock down his tower. The more he clings to legacy, she pays the price, 'cause she is beloved, oh, for the sacrifice of the mother's blood. Raise more than a pint to those who are judged, oh, for the sacrifice of the mother's blood. She paid the price, she is beloved, oh, for the sacrifice of the mother's blood. There's more than a price to those who were judged, oh, for the sacrifice of the mother's blood. For the sacrifice of the mother's blood. For the sacrifice of the mother's blood.
The broken garment, big dose of lum, quick croaker, marin yardamar. Only a hour shin the ground, no as I can glare, how or air on law. I let my grog gallum knock on top. My toss of wing of my umboa egg luckily. The gown at Gorum, the economist shot crafting Gadina Martina, Leonard out on grog a hairy grain, egg on glare, our big orlara. I slept my grog gallum knock arm on town. I toss a going of my umbrella, egg love. Chica will a moment skill egg look kiri. Toss a ginger egg block clear at on cream. But back in mid Harlow Hill 16. Ma chwilio mar le Kayla. Ni fader Kylo. Australia's in the marin yardamar. Only a hour shin the ground, no Haitian glare, a war by Galar. Then McGraw gallum knock on town. I toss a wing of my umboa egg luckily. Toss a wing of my umboa egg luckily.
Many times I've sailed the sea,
and it can get quite wet.
many seek their destination,
But they haven't reached it yet.
you need to find the man to reach the port where you should be.
Sometimes it's hard to find him if you're lost at sea.
Where is the man in the boat?
Port aft starboard.
To keep the ship afloat, we have got to sail the briny sea. Well, where can that little man be?
You search the whole world over,
And it dominates the mind.
because you can be a hero.
If it's something you can find,
Grab the helm of your boat,
it won't matter the size.
but you've got to find the little man
To sail to paradise. Where is the man in the boat?
Port aft starboard.
To keep the ship afloat, we have got to sail the briny sea. Well, where can that little man be? Maybe he set off to chase an elusive dream down below the equator. Things aren't as simple as they seem.
There are things that you can see, not meant for the eyes of men. You may find a hidden treasure. You must believe you can.
Where is the man in the boat?
Aft starboard.
To keep the ship afloat, we have got to sail the briny sea. Well, where can that little man be?
Many men that sail the sea are lost beyond repair.
They leave their wives to weep, forlorn and deep despair.
Some say it takes a handsome man.
Some say it takes a crew
It just takes a seasoned sailor
to steer a wet canoe. Where is the man in the boat?
aft starboard.
To keep the ship afloat, we have got to sail the briny sea. Where, oh, where can that little man be? Where is the man in the boat?
Aft starboard.
To keep the ship afloat, we have got to sail the briny sea. Where, oh, where can that little man be?
After Brobdingnagian Bards came Enda Reilly with An Bua Agblach Clia from High Brazil, then Tartanic with Balls and Ringworm from Unleashed, and finally The Man in the Boat by Caliceltic from their album Paddy Paradise. What'd you think? Did you enjoy the show? If you did, make sure you vote for your favorite tracks that were in this episode. This is called the Celtic Top 20, and it is our way of finding the best songs and artists each year. You can vote for as many songs and tunes that inspire you in each episode. Your vote helps me create this year's Best Celtic Music of 2025 episode. You have just 3 weeks to vote, so go cast your vote, and thank you so much for listening. I have some sad news. Apparently Liz Carroll will not be at Irish Fest Atlanta. I think I heard she broke her wrist, so she's out of commission for a while. I wish Liz Carroll a fast recovery and wish you all the best. In the meantime, this is Liz Carroll with Hanley's House of Happiness from her album Lake Effect. Thank you so much for listening. Back again next week. Sláinte. Support for this program comes from international speaker Joseph Dumond, teaching the ancient roots of the Gaelic people. Learn more about their origins at citedmoon.com. Support for this program comes from Cascadia Cross-Border Law Group, creating transparent borders for more than 25 years, serving Alaska and the world. Find out more at cascadialawalaska.com. And support for this program comes from Hank Woodward. Thank you to all of our amazing underwriters. The Irish and Celtic Music Podcast was produced by Mark Gunn, the Celt Father, and our patrons on Patreon. The show is edited by Mitchell Peterson with graphics by Miranda Nelson Designs. Visit our website to follow the show. You'll find a link to all the artists played in this episode. Todd Wiley is the editor of the Celtic Music Magazine. Subscribe to get 34 Celtic MP3s for free. Plus, you'll get 7 weekly news items about what's happening with Celtic music and culture online. Best of all, you will connect with your Celtic heritage. Please tell one friend about this podcast. Word of mouth is the absolute best way to support any creative endeavor, whether that's the podcast or one of the bands on the podcast. Tell a friend. Finally, remember, our planet's future is in our hands. The overwhelming evidence shows that human activity is driving climate change, from record-breaking heat waves to rising sea levels. But the good news is we have the power to fix it. Every choice we make, reducing waste, conserving energy, supporting clean energy, and lobbying our political leaders, it moves us towards a more stable climate. Start a conversation today. The facts are out there and the future is ours to shape. Promote Celtic culture through music at CelticMusicPodcast.com.